And a good Monday afternoon, everyone. Sean Hammond here with you, wanting to provide an update on the severe weather situation that we have in store for Tuesday. Just got a new update from the Storm Prediction Center, the latest outlooks, and we've got those right there for you. The areas in orange, that is the level 3 enhanced risk of severe weather. That is basically Lexington, points north, and points east for a more significant threat of severe weather tomorrow. Now, outside of that, the rest of the state is in a level 2 slight risk, which does include us here in the Lake Cumberland area. Don't want you to totally let your guard down with that. You know, that's still an elevated threat. You know, we've had marginal risks before, but this is a slight risk, so it is above the marginal, but we are right below that enhanced threshold, which is posted for Lexington, points north and east. So let's take a look at some of the individual threats from the Storm Prediction Center. And again, we are doing this at around 1:30 Central Time, just for reference. There's the tornado threat for tomorrow. You can see kind of that brownish area. That is a 5% risk of a tornado. And then around that is a 2%. Now, I know what some may do. You may look and say, oh, well, Liberty and points north, you know, northern Casey County has a better chance of seeing a tornado than the southern part of Casey County. Remember, these are forecasts, so you know, don't get too caught up in the colors on the map. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of doing all these colors to be honest with you, but we do have them on here, and I try to explain them to you as best as I can. But just remember, it's a forecast. Now, I will tell you, it does look like, as of now, the greatest severe weather threat in terms of intensity is to our north. That's where that enhanced risk is posted at. But again, everybody is going to have a threat tomorrow of damaging straight line winds, and a few isolated tornadoes are possible as well. The wind threat, you can see the area in pink. That is an elevated risk of damaging winds. Could have wind 60, maybe some pockets of 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts as well. And then the rest of the areas that are shaded in that red, that is a 30% damaging wind risk. There's the hail threat. You could see elevated hail threat for areas to the north of Russell County. And, we're still in that hail threat, but kind of low for us. We're mainly going to be worried about winds tomorrow. I'll just be honest with you. Going to really be watching out for the potential for damaging straight line winds. Okay, so let's take a look at the models here. And I want to show you the models have been a little kind of hard to get one to nail this thing down. I want to remind you, the time up there at the top, that's the model time. Just because you see storms over your area at, let's say the model says 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, just because it shows that, and if it does show storms over your area, remember, it's just a model. We use these just to give us kind of an idea on how things and the potential timing of things. So let's jump this thing ahead to tomorrow. We'll get past it today. You can see wee hours of the morning, things are quiet. And then when we get to about 10 o'clock, this is coming from the HER model. We start seeing some activity, especially to our north around Cincinnati and Crendon, Kentucky, Madison, Indiana. We'll start moving the slider ahead. There's noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We start getting activity down here in the Lake Cumberland area. Now remember, the radar will not look exactly like this, and the times, again, don't take those times to the bank, okay, folks? There's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Here comes another round, and then, between 7 and 10 o'clock, that round number 2 comes through. So let's back this up. Here's round number 1, because it is looking like we could potentially have 2 rounds, with the first round mainly affecting central and then portions of eastern Kentucky, maybe extending down into our neck of the woods. And then look at this, round number 2, late afternoon, early evening hours, moving through the area. All right, so let's switch and look at another model, and these are the CAMS models, the ones we use for their higher resolution models, shorter range of forecasting. So let's go to the RRFS model. We'll check that out here, and let me go back to the last run. And so let's take this through tomorrow. So here is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 a.m. There's 11, 12. kind of more of a messy look. We got rain kind of sitting on top of us. And then getting to the afternoon hours, here comes some more cells. And these are more isolated cells kind of popping up in southern Indiana into northwest Kentucky. And those individual cells like that are the ones we really have to watch out for when it comes to the risk of tornadoes. So keep that in mind. The biggest thing we're going to have is, a cluster, a line of storms moving through with damaging winds, but we got to really watch out for any kind of storm that develops out ahead of that line, because remember, any storm that's out there by itself, it's going to have all the energy to itself, and that will carry an elevated tornado risk with it. All right, let's go to another model here. We'll try out the NSSL model. So let's pull that up here. And let me pull that little sidebar off. I think I left it up last round, but that'll be okay. So let's move on. Let's get into tomorrow morning. There's 9 a.m., 10, 11, 12, 1. We have a round coming through here, and then we get a break. And then here comes some more individual cells kind of popping up. And then by the wee early morning hours on Wednesday, we will wrap this up. And again, these models have kind of been all over the place a little bit with the timing of this. We'll do one more here. Let's go to the high-resolution NAM model. And let me see what run I'm on. I want to make sure I'm on the latest run. Okay, there we go. Let's back this up a little bit. There's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Here's 10 a.m., 11, 12, 1. There's 2 o'clock. Storm's now moving into the Lake Cumberland area. Get those out of here. Get that break. We have more development behind that. See the individual cells, just to the east of Tell City in Indiana. Some more of those individual cells kind of popping up. And then we get into 10 o'clock, and here comes some more development coming in here for round number 2. So the high-res NAM model has round number 2 developing kind of late. The HER model, or the high-resolution rapid refresh, has round number 2 kind of early in the evening, extending into the late evening hours. So again, like I told you, we kind of use these models to try to nail down a timing and intensity, but you can't take everything to the bank. We do think it will be 2 rounds, and we do think it will be an afternoon and evening type of event. Okay, here's something else I want to show you. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for this one. This is called CAPE. Think of this as storm fuel, convective available potential energy. And we use this to look at how much fuel is out there. Now, this is not the be-all, end-all for severe weather. You got to look at this. You got to look at wind shear. There are so many different factors that go into it. But, we've had pretty decent severe weather with CAPE values of under 1,000 before. And look at this tomorrow morning. We have CAPE, the storm fuel, over 3,000 joules per kilogram. Look at that. I mean, you got places around, Litchfield, Beaver Dam, E-Town, over 4,000 joules. And we typically have, a lot of fuel in the summertime. It's just we don't have that big forcing mechanism to bring out the big severe weather chances. You have all this fuel out there. That's why you get those pop-up summertime thunderstorms. And they kind of pop up and they rain themselves out and go away. That's why tomorrow's system is a little bit more dynamic. We've got that forcing in play. We've got plenty of moisture. We've got some wind shear. And, of course, with the fuel in play, that's why we've been concerned about the severe weather threat for the last couple of days. But, again, you can see we are going to have more than enough fuel tomorrow. And that fuel will kind of taper off late as we get into the late evening and into the wee morning hours on Wednesday. Let's jump back over here to the outlooks as we get ready to wrap this thing up here. We'll go back to the category. So again, level 3 enhanced risk. That is up here in Lexington, Maysville, Moorhead. That is a horrible 3, by the way. That's terrible. Let me see if I can draw this 2 a little bit better. A little bit better. Down here in the yellow, that is a level 2 slight risk, and that includes all of the Lake Cumberland area. That includes all of us. Columbia, Russell Springs, Somerset, Monticello, Albany, Burkesville, Edmonton, everybody down here, and then up to Greensburg, Campbellsville, and Liberty as well. We are all in this level 2 slight risk for tomorrow. You know, yesterday we had that level 3 enhanced risk that was pulled down pretty much into most of the Lake Cumberland area. It didn't include Russell County, but it was right there just to our north. And then they pulled it back pretty far this morning. But again, don't let that totally let you guard down, okay? We still have that threat of strong to severe storms tomorrow. The biggest thing we're going to be watching out for is damaging straight line winds. But again, any storm that can get out there on its own and stay isolated by itself will have the potential to produce a tornado. So keep that in mind tomorrow. We're going to be keeping you up to date with the very latest on the weather all evening, all day long tomorrow. Do we expect some kind of big, massive, severe weather outbreak? No. Is it a little bit more of an organized severe weather threat than we have seen? Yes. I mean, we had that severe thunderstorm warning on Sunday. I'm going to take these take these drawings off here. So I don't want that to distract you guys. Let's erase that. There we go. Get that off here. So we had that severe thunderstorm warning on Sunday that had parts of Clinton, Cumberland, and Russell County involved. And that was just a summertime thunderstorm that pulsed up on one radar scan. We got one volume scan on radar that kind of pulsed up real quick. It had the warning issued. And then literally right after I came on Sunday to talk about that warning, the storm was already kind of dying out. Tomorrow, like I said, a little bit more different. You got a little bit more wind shear in play. You've got that forcing mechanism with the frontal boundary coming in here. So yes, it is a more organized severe weather threat. But again, it looks like, as of now anyway, the more widespread severe weather activity will be off to our north and northeast. But again, you got to stay weather aware tomorrow. We got to really watch out for any storm that tries to get out there on its own and is isolated. Those are the ones we really have to watch out for. And then, of course, the squall line, the cluster that comes through here, we'll be watching out for damaging straight line winds with that. And even in those lines of storms, you can get the quick little spin-up tornadoes, but we always worry more about those storms that are out there by themselves, because you really have to watch out for those for an elevated tornado threat. But again, like I always tell you, stay calm. Don't be panicking or anything. Just stay weather aware, and we will keep you up to date with the very latest on that. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your Monday. And like I said, we will be posting additional updates as new information becomes available.